Hello everybody, my name is Brady and we are back with another React video. I am increasingly sweaty and today we're going to be checking out more Map Men. Apparently it's been a while since I've checked out a Map Men video. That didn't feel right, so I went to look and I checked. The records indicate that I have not. It's contrary to what I thought. I don't know, I guess not doing daily videos has caused me to lose track of time. I don't know what it is. There's so many series that I had picked up at the same time, and I can't really keep up with them as well as I would like to on the schedule that I'm on, because they were adopted on a daily, sometimes multiple videos daily upload schedule thing. So, to try to make up for that, I'm going to be doing more multi-video React videos, where I check out more videos in a single video. So, that is a thing. Words. So today, the first Map Men video of more than one. I haven't decided how many yet. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how much we have to talk about with the ones that we do manage to check out. Man, I can't talk today. We're going to start with this one. Mappa Mundi, the worst world map. That seems interesting. It should be some engaging material right there. The world's worst map. How bad could it be? Really, like, how bad could it be? I'm trying to think of, like, really bad maps I've seen. I've seen the Flat Earth map. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't actually know if there's anything wrong with, like, the actual land masses on the Flat Earth map, but it has this just giant ice wall around it, so that might be a pretty bad map. Like, otherwise it's fine, but like that's a big but. Like it's a pretty good looking map, but there's this giant ice wall where there probably shouldn't be. So I wonder if it's like on that level bad, or if this is like the bad level on like serious maps that should possibly be taken serious, but still bad. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out as we go. Let's get this one started. It's pretty short. These old ones are really short.
Welcome to Map Men.
We're the men.
And here's the map. Today, we're looking at this 13th century Hereford Mappa Mundi.
Oh!
Which is Latin for world tablecloth.
It lives on display in Hereford Cathedral, and you may have noticed it couldn't look less like the actual world. But that's because this particular map was orientated...
Can I just,
look less...
Okay, we're gonna need more context before I comment on that.
But that's because this particular map was orientated with east at the top, so if we rotate it...
Okay.
It still looks nothing like the world.
Yeah.
Incidentally, orientated means east at the top, hence Orient.
Ah.
And only 3 continents, Asia, Europe and Africa.
And this is supposed to be Britain.
Arc is in Armenia.
You know what?
Africa.
And this is supposed...
Okay, like it's bad. It is bad. It really is. But like, and I guess, yeah, it is pre-discovery of the New World, and you wouldn't have Antarctica in there. It's a smaller world you have here. They still use a circular thing here, and there's so many seemingly pictures here. I can't really make out any of it and what its significance are. Noah's Ark's inclusion, that sounds hilarious.
Britain.
Noah's Ark is in Armenia, the Garden of Eden is in Asia, and there's a bearded figure with mixed genitalia, a turban and a single breast. It's almost a good enough reason to visit Hereford.
Hereford's nice.
No, it's not.
It's all right.
Never been.
Nothing on this map looks anything like anything. It makes using it to get from A to B somewhat difficult. Hi there, I'm trying to get to Babylon. Where are we?
But be fair, they didn't have knowledge in those days to get things right?
Wrong. 1,000 years earlier, in around 100 AD, a Greek scholar called Ptolemy...
So this is like... okay, given the time that I might have missed when they said when the map was from, but I expected it to be like much earlier from the visuals there, just what it happened to prioritize. Like if it has like Noah's Ark and stuff, I'm thinking... all right, that kind of dates it a little bit during a time where that would have to have been a very relevant story. So to an extent, it kind of dates the map. but I don't think it gives it a really... I don't think it puts it in that particular time. I don't think that's what I would date it to. So that's interesting.
Produced this impressive-looking map of the known world, and he did it using only equipment that looked like this.
That's pretty good.
I'm very clever.
But they weren't as silly as they look. Unlike maps today, this map wasn't trying to represent geographical space accurately.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think he knows where we're going. In fact, all maps are just a representation of a particular world view.
No.
That's right. It's just like the tube map, which is great for showing what tube to get, but for everything else, it's rubbish. Hi there, I'm trying to get to Babylon.
So in this case, making this argument on the behalf of the map, it would have to serve some sort of a purpose, and if it did serve a pretty strong purpose for the people who would have used it, you could make the argument that it was a good map for those very specific people and under these very specific circumstances, but in the broader sense, not particularly useful and therefore a bad map to us today. And what we would want to get from a
What is the
map.
Hereford Mappa Mundi trying to do?
I know!
Mark.
It seeks to portray a global Christian hegemony by charting the history of creation, the soul's journey to the afterlife, detailing the resurrection of Christ, and predicting the end of the world.
Well done.
Thank you.
So you could say the map is a guide for how to get to heaven.
I think we're in Ealing.
So given the aim is to map the Christian message, it actually does that pretty well.
Ignoring these stray mythological references to the Pillars of Hercules, unicorns, and the Minotaur's Labyrinth. Amen.
Amen.
And as the cartographic historian Jerry Brosson wrote, the Mappa Mundi looks forward to the moment of Christian judgment, the end of space and time, when there will be no need for geographers or maps.
Oh no.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. It's just a map. What harm could it do?
Okay. That was rather interesting, and I guess it is a great tool for maybe not as much a geographer. Maybe they could probably find some sort of use to it. There's a reason these guys are talking about it. I think historians and archaeologists and such can find great use in something like this. It really does say more about the culture that it came from than the world around them. And just because something doesn't have the most obvious purpose, like when we see a map, it's like, oh, it's used to navigate or something. Just because it doesn't have that purpose, it's not very good at that, doesn't mean that it doesn't have a purpose. And we don't necessarily have to like the purpose. So is it a bad map? From our perspective, yes. From their perspective, they might have been pretty happy with that map. So that was a rather interesting video. I've got some others pulled. Oh, my bad. I've got some other Mapman videos pulled up. Some of their other early ones. I did a good amount of these, but I found this one right here. Okay. This one looks exactly the same as the beginning of the previous one. They just happen to seemingly do their intros. Wait, do they use the same intro? I don't know. I guess I should pay better attention or something like that. This one is called Why Is There a Blank Space in This Map of East Berlin? I suppose that could be rather interesting. Berlin is a fascinating topic, and I'd imagine we must be talking about a more politically charged map, but I guess we'll see. I guess all maps in a way are political, so I shouldn't write off the political motivation behind any map in particular, because they all kind of have some degree of politics in them. So yeah, words. All right, let's do it.
Welcome to Mapmen.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
Moon.
This is a map of Berlin from 1988, with lots of normal map things, as well as 400 hectares of white.
That seems awfully suspicious.
It is awfully suspicious.
Ooh.
The area highlighted in blank was West Berlin, which was sealed off from the rest of East Germany by the Berlin Wall. And guns. The last thing the government wanted was a map of a thriving capitalist splodge with airports, shopping centres, and family members they used to be able to visit.
I just really want to fill it in.
Never draw on a map. But just because this map has a great gaping hole in the middle of it doesn't mean it...
Is that a thing? Like, I've dabbled in geography, and I've gotten pretty close to getting my geography minor. I don't know if, like, how geography snobs, I guess is what he's going for here, geography snob. I don't know how they would treat drawing on a map. I'd imagine, like, if the map isn't particularly valuable, if you have notations to make on a map, I wouldn't see that as a particularly bad thing, but maybe I don't get it. It's like some people like writing in their history books, some like that. I understand that it's a joke here, and overanalyzing stuff makes things less funny, but it's fun to think about. There must be plenty of geography snobs who like writing on their maps, and there must be some that don't, but I don't know. I'm not one of them.
It's right to say it's wrong.
Because no map is wrong.
And no map is right.
And all map is map.
Exactly.
Allow us to explain.
All maps have to make decisions about what they do and don't include, depending on what they're for. Here's Mark standing in Berlin. He's looking for the Starschen Heichenspitzenbasser Cafe.
Hello!
But here's Mark in Berlin as it appears on a map of the sewer system.
Ach, wohin buildings?
And here's Berlin as it appears on Google Maps.
Was? Ich habe einen Blaudot bekommen?
And here's Berlin as it appears on a map of violent crime.
Oh. That's good, right?
Luckily, Berlin's very safe. You see, no map can possibly contain...
Okay, yeah, I love what they... Like, a lot of this stuff on the face of it is very simple, but I think from the outside perspective, when you have not been exposed to geography as like a study, it's very easy to break down geography into this kind of stereotype of just maps and places and like getting around and memorizing capitals and all that, but like geography is so much more than that, and I kind of like how they highlight the different uses for maps. Yeah.
All the information. If it contained all the information, it would look like this.
Now that's a map.
That's too much. That's unreadable.
This map was accurate. West Berlin didn't exist.
Just like Rutland.
Rutland is real.
Rutland's a conspiracy.
So, we're not saying that this map...
So much of what they do, and I have a pretty heavily English audience, not just English speakers, but people from England who would probably get a lot of the jokes that they make better than I do. I catch you guys explaining their jokes to me a good amount because I don't get them. There's the dry British humor that often goes over my head because it's often delivered with such conviction and like it's supposed to be taken completely serious in a lot of ways. So sometimes I'll see things that are jokes and not realize they're jokes and think that they're talking about something serious. And then there's cases like that where I have no idea what that means.
Is wrong.
What we're saying is it's extremely silly. But this is not the only curiously blank map in the world. So here's our roundup of our favourite maps with gaps.
Oh, cool.
This Atlas of France can't be bothered to show the densely packed roads around Paris, so it looks like a massive empty field.
And this Google Maps image of East Asia suggests there are no roads or settlements in North Korea because somebody wouldn't let the cartographers in.
I won't let the cartographers.
That's something that I deal with like all the time when I'm playing like GeoGuessr and stuff, and that's something that I use to if you haven't played GeoGuessr, it drops you somewhere random in the world and you have to find out where in the world you are. But one thing you have to consider a lot of the time is will this country have like Google Maps or Google Street View or something like that? Does this country even have that? And a lot of them I've been able to rule out because it's like, yeah, they just wouldn't even allow somebody to go into their place with that level of detail. So North Korea is always out of the question. I never even mention North Korea in GeoGuessr. It's always South Korea.
And this map makes it look like there's nothing in Greenland. Oh.
The Berlin Wall came down in 1980.
I get that.
Classic episode.
There's nothing in Greenland.
Germany have successfully erased any trace of the Berlin Wall, just as they did with Hitler's bunker car park.
That's what makes this creepy gap map so interesting. It tells the story of a bygone era when citizens' freedom of movement was restricted. But today, all the people of the world can go wherever they please and everything is fine.
I've drawn a wizard.
Oh, no. So that last one was pretty engaging. I would say there must be more fun examples of stuff like that. With maps being so political, a lot of political entities end up getting erased and stuff like that. We have the conversations around China, and they're very aggressive in the way that they try to frame the, I guess, airplane. Whoop. That's always fun. They're very aggressive in the way they like to frame the political legitimacy of particular places, and that's a huge issue today, and I find that to be a rather fascinating, though in a lot of ways tragic, political issue to follow. I really do. I find the crisis for legitimacy to be like an incredibly engaging topic. So, speaking of China, we just talked about China. Yay! So here we have who owns the South China Sea. So, yeah, let's get this one started.
Map men.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
You are men. And men is map. Very good.
Today, we're talking about a map of the sea.
Specifically, the South China Sea, which can be found here, just south of China, in this bit of sea.
Now, you might think there's not a
Really?
point in mapping the sea.
But if you look quite literally below the surface, you can find valuable fish stocks, oil reserves, and a giant swimming pool the size of an Earth-sized planet.
But given how many countries border this patch of sea, I feel like we're saying sea a lot.
There's nothing we can do about it.
Drawing up these borders can be more contentious than a 1960s East German Olympic blood sample.
First, there's Brunei, with its neat yet noticeably phallic claim.
Brunei.
Then we add Malaysia.
Then we add the Vietnamese claim. Then the Philippine claim. And finally, the Chinese claim, which they call the 9-dash line. Ooh, harsh.
This leaves a corner of sea claimed by China, Vietnam, Brunei, Malaysia, and the Philippines, which was ridiculous, but here at Mapmen, it's the sort of thing we really love.
The trouble is, painting a line in the sea.
With something like that, it only goes about as far as your ability to enforce it, and you'd imagine that China probably has one of the stronger abilities to enforce it, but like how far are they willing to go is also that, like the political will to enforce that line. Like, are you willing to open fire on everybody who walks or not walks, you can't walk in the ocean unless you're like, I don't know, Jesus or something. You can't just fire on everybody who walks into that. I said walk again. Who stumbles upon your. You can't stumble in the water. Who sails into your claim unless you're willing to really commit to that level of conflict. And I'd imagine a lot of the places around there don't really want to fight each other, but they want to get as much as they can without fighting. China's form of imperialism is not currently like as direct like that, just straight up opening fire on people like that. It's I'll give them credit. It's far more tactful than that. They're a little smarter than that.
It doesn't really work. So what's a better way of proving that you own the sea?
The answer is land. Here in the middle of it all are the uninhabited Spratly Islands,
yeah, the
a series of
islands.
tiny reefs and
Forgot about
sandbanks, and all the countries involved claim some for themselves so they can own the sea around them. And cheeky China have also been building innocuous things like gun turrets, helipads, naval ports and airstrips.
But it doesn't stop there. China have been using enormous dredging boats to build even more Spratly Islands, including this one,
I've
which
heard
is
about
genuinely
this.
called Mischief Reef. So now it's land, and now it's theirs.
Yeah, because like land is the way you measure your claim from a certain distance out from the island, and I have heard about this probably in a geography course at some point about China actually manufacturing islands, which that's what I'm saying. They're a little bit more tactful than a lot of empires from the past. That is at least clever. They have something quite tangible that they can use in order to measure their claim. So you can disagree with it. It's not dumb. It's cheeky. It's a little evil. It's a bit of a loophole, but it's not dumb.
Ow.
So why do people here, in China, care so much about control of the sea?
At the moment, Chinese ships can travel through this area as they please. But if there were a war, these narrow pathways could easily be blockaded.
Which could result in China's hugely export-orientated economy collapsing faster than a 1960s East German Olympic Stadium. So for now, China is sticking with its 9-dash line. And would you mess with China? No. Analysts agree that this sticky sea situation is set to continue for at least hours.
I need a real bath.
Yeah, that's rather fascinating, and China's export economy is a wonderful point to highlight there. Like, while they do have the power, getting in that sort of a conflict could easily seriously disrupt their economy, and they probably want things to go as smoothly as possible in that regard, and are probably willing to let little things slide if they can. Like, if these people claim this little sliver of water and they just happen to go through that, you got to pick your battles in that sort of situation. So that's a rather fun little map story. I think the naval stories are especially interesting to me. Hold on. I'm so bad at the function in which I switch to another video. Oh, what should we do next? How did triangles shrink France? Does that sound good? Ooh, the world's silliest time zone. Did I do the silliest time zones? That sounds familiar. We're going to do how did triangles shrink France. And that will probably be it for today, but I don't know. How did triangles shrink France? What does that even mean? Oh, hold on. I need to pull up the video. I can see it, but you cannot. There we go. How did triangles shrink France? I wish I could tell you what that means. I guess we'll get started with that.
Hey, Mark, what country am I supposed to be?
Offensive France.
Bienvenue à
Offensive
On
France.
Nous sommes les hommes.
Et voilà, la carte.
On carte.
Okay, I like
The
that.
Cassini family map of France is quite possibly the most incredible map ever made.
Considering how old it is,
Very. It's astonishing how accurate it is.
also very.
And the story behind it is pretty astonishing too.
Before the Cassinis, the best map of France looked like this. Not bad.
But also, definitely not good.
It's
In those days, maps weren't very precise. They were more like works of art. But King Louis XIV wanted to know exactly what he was king of, and he wanted a great big map on his bedroom wall.
King Louis XIV is probably considered to be one of the strongest leaders as far as like political will to get things done. I would rank him among some of the most ambitious. So yeah, of course there are other people who easily leapfrog him, but I think he deserves a little bit of credit in that particular category. He is certainly he was a visionary in a lot of ways. I don't feel like I like him. I don't feel like he's my boy or anything like that, but he is absolutely fascinating and kind of the ideal of an absolute monarch in a lot of ways. And also not necessarily a good thing, because an absolute monarch is in itself kind of a problematic role or something, but I find him to be very interesting in that role. Much better than the kings that would follow him in France, as far as his ability to like assert his power and have you believe his power, and that's where the king's power ends. It's how much the people believe it.
So, he called his card...
And, you know, the military and blah, blah, blah.
Monsieur, je voudrais une carte.
Une carte.
Une carte, oui, une carte très grande de mon front.
Bof, je commence.
But of course, it was a lot trickier than just saying boff.
When Cassini googled satellite photography, he found an article
wish I knew
saying that
French
it wouldn't
better.
be invented for another 300 years. So Cassini had no option but to use an old-fashioned yet ingenious process called triangulation.
Triangulation works by making triangles.
I've heard of
You start
those.
by measuring the distance between 2 points.
Then you spy out a third point and measure the angles towards it with a massive protractor. Using these measurements,
And a bit of maths.
you can plot a stunningly accurate triangle on your map, no matter how big or bumpy the terrain is.
Simply repeat the process over and over again, and voila, a complete and thoroughly accurate map.
Cassini travelled
bad.
around France with his triangle measuring machinery for years and years until he was too dead to carry on.
So his son, Cassini Jr., took over from his dead dad and continued measuring.
Then Cassini Jr. died and was replaced by his son, Cassini Jr. Jr., the first Cassini's grandson.
They had first names, you know.
No one cares. Back then, France was mostly a poverty-stricken rural backwater and not overly partial to the arrival of strangers.
Plus ça change.
This made map-making a dangerous endeavour.
In 1740,
I can't
the
wink
villagers
well.
in Les Estables brutally hacked one of Cassini's surveyors to death, believing their strange tools and modern science were the cause of their failed harvest.
Bang, 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 ow, bang.
There's always somebody to blame.
Bang. But eventually, the Cassini
That's a strange one, though.
600,000 square French kilometres of France and produced this, a map made entirely of triangles.
The king, who by now was a different king, was delighted until he noticed something wrong. Zut alors, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Is there a problem?
My country is 20% smaller than I thought it was. You have taken more from me than I won in all my wars. I actually said this.
But Your Highness, you literally
That's actually pretty clever.
accurate map.
Well, you could at least bother to fill it in with some details, like villages and rivers, so it's not just triangles.
So Cassini Jr. set about turning his very accurate map into a very useful map.
Every church, every farm,
Okay.
every copse, every petrol station was painstakingly marked.
Oh, that's actually really funny. How that must have impacted a king to know that much of his territory is taken away. In a lot of ways, that must be kind of challenging to his perception of his own power in a lot of ways. Unless he had the wonderful sense of humor that's portrayed here, which, you know, that may not necessarily be the case. I'm pretty sure this would be more annoying than anything else.
In the very first modern map of its kind.
And then Cassini Jr. Jr. died and was replaced by Cassini Jr. Jr. II until the job was finished.
4 generations of the same family taking over 120 years to complete a task is a pretty impressive level of commitment.
In today's terms, that's like someone watching a YouTube video all the way to the end.
In 1793, the Cassini
What are we at?
family's now completed an enormous 12 by 11 metre map comprising 182 sheets of incroyable detail was proudly
Stolen by the people who'd executed the king the year before.
Napoleon decided the Cassini family's long association with the crown made them enemies of the revolution. And so they confiscated the map, prevented its public use, and threw Cassini in jail.
Napoleon milked the map for magnificent military manoeuvres. Buff. It also inspired the Ordnance Survey maps here in Britain, and ushered in an age where maps were less about art and more about accurate accuracy.
How astonishing. But perhaps the most astonishing thing about... Oh, that's my time up. Now time for my son to take over.
Your son?
Yep. Here you go, Jay Jr. Just carry on where I left off.
Okay.
Didn't know you had a son.
That's wonderful.
Yes, one flight to Boston, please.
Oh, you going on?
Okay, I believe this is an ad. We're gonna watch through it though because I enjoy their ads are probably some of my favorites.
A holiday to Boston.
No, it's not a holiday. I've just got a question about Napoleon that I need to ask an Ivy League professor.
You know an Ivy League professor?
No, I'm just going to chance it and knock on lots of doors.
You won't be successful.
Yes, I will. I've been practicing. Look. £4,000? That sounds very reasonable.
If you really want access to the best Ivy League professors, you need the Great Courses Plus.
The Great Courses
Great
what?
courses. Okay, that
The
makes
Great
sense.
Plus?
The Great Courses Plus.
The what Courses Plus?
And so on. The Great Courses Plus is an on-demand video learning service with really good lectures and courses from top professors from the Ivy League and other great universities around the world. If you can think of a thing you want to learn about, the Great Courses Plus has almost definitely got a really good video lecture about it. All the fun of learning with none of the unfun of exams or homework.
Can I use it to learn about living the French Revolution in the age of Napoleon?
Yes.
Can I use it to learn about
I've
French
checked that one out.
French-speaking countries around the world?
Yes.
Can I use it to learn about the fundamentals of photography?
Yes.
Can I use it to solve the mystery of who stole my yogurt?
No, you'll have to figure that out for yourself.
Whoever committed this crime left these footprints in the fridge.
Who leaves footprints in the fridge?
I've checked the National Footprint database and there doesn't seem to be a match.
Stop getting sidetracked. We're doing an advert for the Great Courses Plus.
How much do I have to pay to use the Great Courses Blue?
The Great Courses Plus.
Oops.
You can try it out for free. As much learning as you like from any of their more than 11,000 brilliant video courses.
But how much does it cost after?
Click on the link
after the
below to start your free trial.
I mean, I know this link doesn't work anymore,
me to
but
the Great
still.
Courses Times.
The Great Courses Plus, and you're welcome.
No, I practiced my knocking for nothing.
Okay.
So, I think this is a very fascinating way of viewing the history of a map, and like actually a quite fascinating series of progress, like this generational map project. I wasn't aware of this one, but I was aware of a lot of the political circumstances that surrounded France during this time, and it's kind of fun to see as France is developing, see how this map project gets kind of entangled in the political developments of the time, when you have like this strong absolute monarch guy who's like starting the project, and then you have the disappointing results during a time of where general discontent is going to start forming, and then you have it straight up being like the baby being thrown out with the bathwater when Napoleon comes around. That's actually a really interesting story, and the story around the map makers might be more interesting than the map itself, though it is absolutely fascinating. Yeah, I think that was really, 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 really cool. So I do want to check out some more map men in the near future. Today was all pretty short ones. I'm looking at what else we have. We have why do maps show places that don't exist? That one sounds funny. Why every world map is wrong. They've got the new one, the longitude problem, history's deadliest riddle. That one is I'll get around to them. I am going to be doing actually, I don't know how many I actually have left. I think that might be it. I think it might just be the two that I mentioned before and the newest one, but I may be wrong. I'll have to double check later. Map Men's cool. I do intend on eventually continuing Jay Foreman's channel and like checking out some of his stuff outside of Map Men when I'm done checking out the Map Men videos, because he has this series on London, which I think might be even more engaging in a lot of ways, because you get not Map Men is broad. To go into a series dedicated to kind of the geography of a very specific, narrow, big London isn't like small or anything. It's a very detailed place, but to go into so much detail on a more narrow subject, I think might be even more fascinating in a lot of ways. Though these are very easy to enjoy kind of like on their own with no context around it. I think it'll be really cool to check out his London
Today, we'll be
series.
asking
Definitely.
Sorry, they're talking in my ear. I did a thing wrong. What was the series called? I just want to check. Unfinished London. There's 10 videos from it. Hold on, I just wanted to see that. Yeah, about 10 minutes a piece. That sounds cool. That would be nice to understand England in general a little bit better, because I am not super well versed with the geography of England itself, especially not as in such a narrow sense to like get right into London. Maybe I understand it in a little bit of a broader sense, but it would be nice to be able to appreciate it on a little bit more of a specific level. So that would be cool. Words and stuff. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If there's anything else you wanted me to check out in the near future, I got lots of stuff lined up, but if you want to throw more on the pile, leave comments and stuff. All right, I'm sweating. I'm going to go leave and do other things. I'm going to go skateboard or something. I don't know. Later. Bye.